And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another review of the hit MG. Is it MGM Plus now? And not Epics anymore? MGM Plus hit show, Godfather of Harlem. Here we are now on episode 5. This episode is entitled Angel of Death. It's your boy Lucas with my guy Nature. I'm gonna say it like the foreign people. Like, is it Nature? What? I got to say it like the people in the comments be writing it, because clearly, if you write it wrong, you're clearly saying it wrong.
You want to say it like the racist people?
No, I'm not saying it like them. No, not at all.
Okay,
you're not getting me to say it like Joe Colombo. What's going on this evening, sir?
Man, another week to talk. More coverage, but another week talking Godfather of Harlem. Busy week for us as usual, but yeah, always good to get back on the show.
Now, we open up this episode again entitled Angel of Death with Bumpy having dreams about being just that. Like, you can tell from the beginning that this was clearly a dream sequence, but did you like the foreshadowing of this dream sequence at the beginning to the way the rest of the episode plays out?
Yeah, that's right. Took the words right out of my mouth. It absolutely was foreshadowing. And I for a moment I was like, is it real? But when he gave that sort of sadistic laugh, I was like, okay, yeah, definitely not. But I mean, like, from all the shows that we cover, that kind of taps into a historical piece. And even the fictional ones, we understand the climax of what drug dealers are and what it means.
Exactly.
And the title fits, much like we kind of learn later on this episode here. But yeah, I like how it kind of set us up for things to come.
Exactly. Next up, the next big important thing that happened in this episode is the return from Mecca. We get the return of Malcolm X and Elise as Malcolm comes back to realize things are kind of worse off than where he left them when he went to Mecca. Now, we understand the story of Malcolm X. We understand the time period of Malcolm X here. But is it a good thing that they show this on screen, just the impact of his speech and how it even got back to the States and how the hatred has now grown for him?
Yeah, because I feel like last week we talked about this, but I feel like a couple of people had mentioned that we didn't. But understanding that this speech he did wasn't just for the sake of Africa or for the nation of Islam. This speech reached every part of the world, and for what he may have been congratulated on there, he had to come out to the reality of what he left. That while he, his vision, or what's the word that Betty used? Like when you talking about Elise, talking about like being elevated. So maybe his vision, his thoughts, his sort of passage now has been elevated, but truly understanding that nothing has changed back in Harlem.
Exactly,
and it's still more work to be done. And I think while this was work for him, it's like a vacation. Whatever you were running from back home, it's still there when you get back. So that's what it is.
I mean, clearly we see from the fear that Betty had of her having to send again their girls away. I think we only saw this happen maybe in season 2 when they did the exact same thing when Malcolm was in a little trouble and they sent their girls away and then he brought them back home. But here, like, her fear is like things have gotten worse. Like, you're getting constant calls, constant death threats. Like, what you did, you're making the world better. You're being great, but it's a price to it. And early on here, we're seeing Malcolm pay that price early on with having to be separated from his daughters again. But next up, we have a character that we don't get enough of, besides, when Bumpy was beating the heck out of him, and that's Pettigrew. As here, he is at what I thought at first was going to be Jose Battles Club, because clearly, got salsa music playing. He's clearly not at the Geechee, so I figured that's where he was at. And here we get the first introduction in this series of Cocaina, as this nice Latin temptress tells him, hey, take a bump. You say you're tired. This basically will help pick you up.
Yep.
And Pettigrew taking a hit of it. Now, two things I'm going to ask here. One is kind of foreshadowing is, did you think that this would go down the path of him getting hooked on drugs by him taking this bump of cocaine? I'm sorry there first.
I don't know if that's the real question. So one, listen, before even posing
we'll
that
get to the
question,
second question. That's what I said. Just go to this question first.
No,
I got
no,
another
for sure.
one right behind it.
Yeah, but even before this question, you have to say, did you think my man was going to fall in love with this Melina chick just that quick? That was the first question.
Hey, no. The salsa dancing, he was already hooked. I mean, all you got to do, you merengue with the right one time, man. You're gonna be hooked forever.
But I don't think I don't think he was addicted. I think he played the game the entire time.
Oh no, not that. Was he addicted? Did you think of that? We've seen his personality so far in the show. Did you think just how dangerous him taking this drug is? Because again, for people that don't understand, cocaine in this time period, it's not that it was non-existent. It just wasn't a drug people chose to do. So a lot of people have heard of cocaine, had never tried cocaine before. Like, we're about 10 years here removed from when cocaine was a big thing. It was a big thing in the 50s. It went away by the 60s. And by the time it hit the 60s, it was not a drug that normal folks could do. So I'm just saying, did you think this would have been a situation where he got hooked onto that?
Yeah, no. I think a little bit of self-control, but fear for Bumpy. It's the biggest thing, and obviously, Dale made sure he knew that in that car ride, but I didn't think so. I thought, much like he revealed at the end, which was, the bamboozle to both this question and my question, was he in love? Absolutely not. Him taking the drugs, would he get hooked? Absolutely not. He's a gangster. He knew exactly what he was doing. He played the game. He got her who was trying to trick him. Can't play a player. That's what it was very clear. That S-Curl told you all you needed to know. It wasn't gonna go down the way she thought it was. Thought he was sweet for it. He said, try again. So I did not think he was gonna get addicted, but overall, seeing the whole resolve of this, I was like, yeah, all of it makes sense to me.
Yeah, at first I thought it could have been kind of a setup. Just because of the way she did it, I thought, okay, this could be a setup to see to get him either hooked on something or to take advantage of him. I just wasn't sure which one it could be. That she just came off as a temptress. Like, who else in a red dress would hand you cocaine to take a bump out of after you merengue? Like, it's unfair. So I thought maybe that could have been a setup for Pettigrew. But
any regular sucker would have fell for that.
Well, I mean, but he's fallen for stuff before, so it's not out the realm of possibility.
And he also got beat not that long ago, and he understands he don't want to be on that side no more.
Don't tell me that Bumpy done beat the sense into him.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
He done did what every black mother says they would do when they grab the belt. I'm gonna beat the sense into you. Yeah. But next up, we realized, and this is not a big thing, that just a focal point here, and it pays dividends a little bit later on in the episode, when Elise gets back home and she realizes that Omar, who we have not seen since Bumpy let him live, that Omar has been sending multiple letters to Elise, attempting to get back in her good graces here. Now, from the way this storyline ended, and here I am going to go forward to talk about the remainder of this storyline in this episode, but the way the storyline ended from the last time they were together and we saw him still having feelings for Elise, did you think it would get to the point, one, of him writing these letters to Elise, to her actually contemplating should she give him a second chance?
Yeah, I think the exploration that they had has opened her eyes up to look at things on both sides much more naturally now. And I think coming back, screwing her head back on from the luxury of this trip, talking to Betty, talking to Mammy, talking to two powerful women, seeing powerful women all over the world, realizing how much power she has on her own, realizing her destiny and her fate and going forward. I think she looks at it in a way much like how she sees Malcolm goes about it, where she's seen, folks from the mass portray him, but he's willing to forgive and he's willing to move forward and he's willing to continue what he's doing. So I think it's just a lot of that going on. So it makes sense that this aspect of the storyline is relevant again. But I think overall, as we got the flashback of when when she was a crackhead, to kind of see how far along she's come, and beyond her getting clean, and converting, or I guess converted. I don't know what she was before.
She converted to Islam.
Oh, she did convert. Yeah. Okay,
did.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So to the point now of just understanding just how much more is left. How much more can she achieve instead of just finding the bar of converting and then that's just being there, or just being complacent to what she's seen from the other women in the mass. I understand that there's so much more. So yeah. One thing we are going to talk about. We are going. Oh, okay, yeah, we're going to talk about it in a second. I'm looking at my notes, just making sure too. Cool. Want to make sure we talk about.
How you give a tease before I finish?
Oh yeah, my bad. I thought we skipped something. I was looking at. I was like, wait, did we skip something?
No, we're gonna go forward with Elise's story here.
Yeah.
But my thought on it was Betty gave her the best piece of advice when she told her, people can change. Like, if you do look at all the people who were going against Malcolm, betraying Malcolm, is because of the things they heard, not necessarily because of the man they knew. So Omar kind of was in that same boat. He was going by the things he heard more than the man that he knew. And I think that's why we get the flashback of Elise, because we see her change.
Which is sad because he knew him before this,
But he was still like in the presence of the Moss, and the way that emotion can really drive a person when you have so many people telling you like, this man is bad for us. He's not good for us. Again, you got the highest person in your religion who's basically saying like, Malcolm needs to be separated from us. Like he means us no goodwill, and all of that is feeding, and it kind of changed him a lot. And I think it separated from him from the Malcolm that he knew, and he started going by the Malcolm that other people portrayed Malcolm X to be, and that's what turned Omar. But I mean, it's good to see him coming back around. Granted, I'm still a little worried, just like Elise is, about is there a different intention in him coming back around?
Yeah.
But that is something we got to see. But next up, Mr. Colombo. Stella. The gift. That's what I'm going to call it, the gift, because it just came out of nowhere. When he gives her a family heirloom as a gift, and Stella basically tells him, I don't want this. I want to go to Paris. It's her same argument over and over and over again.
If somebody do not fly my girl out.
hey, that's all she asking for.
Oh,
she been asking to go to Paris forever. Like, take her to Paris, New York. It's Paris. It's different Parises. She didn't even say. She just said, I want to go to Paris.
Yeah.
But what'd you think about this again with Stella and Joe here? Because we kind of see them at one point in time. We thought Stella was catching feelings for him. That's partially why she didn't record what she was supposed to record on Joe.
We thought. That's still to be determined.
I'm saying we thought, because I'm hoping Stella brightens up and she don't fall for every man her daddy that her daddy sent to protect her. Like, eventually you can't be the bodyguard at Whitney Houston all the damn time. Like, you gotta separate yourself eventually.
No. Stella still got more reps left in her here.
But do you think right here was this a chance of Joe attempting to reach out to get more with Stella by giving her something and giving it such a deep meaning for what he was giving her, and even down to her saying like, you need to save this for your special person? Was that like her shooting him down? Because that's what it felt like.
I mean,
like, nah, Joe, I'm not falling for that.
I think Joe's just really trying to get her in line at some point. I think he wanted his cake and wanted to eat it too. I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you like her, it's good, but she's doing the business stuff, and anything outside of these parameters isn't good for him. So I think that's one of those things. I think he genuinely does have nice intentions for her, but also she's still a woman, and you're not going to defy his rule and his orders and his judgment, and that's where the problems come here.
Clearly. But speaking of problems, next up we get Bumpy. This is when Bumpy makes his big deal as him and Jose battle, make a deal to completely cut the Italians out of the Ducci, which is an odd name for dope. But the Ducci here. Now, with this deal, this was the same deal that Bumpy made, I want to say at the end of season 2, before it all went up in flames. And him even agreeing to pay for it up front, knowing that's something the Italians would never do. What'd you think about just when this was set up and you see the deal, and we see from the prior episodes of how much trust they've gained in Bumpy, that they would even do this deal, that Bumpy then comes up with this deal. Did you think this is going to be something great for Bumpy, or did you kind of see this going down a dark path again?
Nah, it's a lot of the same old thing. It's just like, oh, how is this not going to work this time? That's literally what I said. It's like, oh, the same proposal, how is it not? Yeah,
no, it worked last time. It just burned up because black people started riding.
Right. So I think it's interesting. It's just Jose just bearing witness to this, seeing how he operates, and just to see how it's going to play out. But I had nothing. I don't even know if I even have this in my notes. Cause I was like, oh, here's this shit again. Same thing. Yeah, same old thing. Because again, it's important because we want to know who has leverage over the connection here. And Marseille, he comes in, he's working the deal, and as he says, like, listen, like, this is a great deal, but because I'm a business person, I gotta go see what the Italians gotta say too. And like Bumpy's right. Like, if you give them an offer at the table, it's probably not going to go well. One, they got more of a backing, obviously because they know the deal, they wouldn't try to match the deal, but they may try another tactic that may not work for any of us. And that's why I was more interested. I knew Bumpy steals are pretty much A to B. It's the Italians and what they may do. And even with Joe basically talking about the later on, talking about the strength of the families, he's not even representing the families. It is just the deal that he's trying to operate by himself. He's trying to cut everybody out, essentially, it seems like.
But remember, though, because with Chin's position, it's the overseas families that he's talking about, not necessarily families.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
So those are the 5 families. He's like, look, if you go against me, they're the ones you have to worry about. So those are the big bosses all of them answer to anyway. They kind of brought them up before when Bumpy went against Chin and made this same deal. It was the same thing was brought up. Like, 5 families aren't going to be happy with you making this deal and cutting us out of all of it. So I think that it wasn't hope that this will work for Bumpy, because at this point we understand it'll never work for Bumpy.
Yeah.
But it was what's going to be his counter to what's going to be whatever the Italians offer. That's what you kind of waited on here.
Also really interesting. I'm just thinking about it, bringing up Chin. I was looking at D'Onofrio's Twitter, and he's been interacting with Godfather of Harlem handle, and a lot of people asking he's going to be back. And obviously we all want to see him back in some capacity. But I realized, though, he's not available. That's why we haven't seen him right now. I'm sure he had scheduling conflicts with potentially with the Marvel stuff. So this is a way. Go ahead.
Also during this time period, Chin is actually in jail.
Right. But I mean, like, not even getting any jail scenes or anything. I know somebody's going to see him. Somebody, or even some call. I mean, easily they could throw some voice work in here if need be. I don't know, but I tell you what, though, it's just interesting because the build up to Chin appearance is still amounting with not even an appearance. You just keep wondering, like, when we find out about Stella and the treatment Stella is getting from Joe. Yeah, or when he finds out the family's son tried to kill him, there's all these sorts of different things, and we finally get Chin to be able to respond or react to some of these things, what we're looking for. But for the folks who's wondering, like, yeah, he's been interacting with the Twitter handle, and like he's been asking, and he just kind of threw googly eyes, like you have to wait and see. And then the Godfather of Harlem one said, "Snitches get stitches."
Yep, hey, because he's clearly, in all honesty, because it's going down history's path, you kind of, if you paid enough attention, you know when you're going to see Chin again. But again, watching the show is great because if you don't know much about history, it leaves you wondering when you're going to see Chin again and why you're going to see Chin again.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say, like, we understand the relationship between him and Joe. And that's the most important part of the season, is that relationship. As Joe has told Stella time and time again, the reason you're going nowhere, because I don't want your father to kill me. Your father's behind bars, and he's still terrified of your father killing him. That should give you all the information you need to know. Next up, this is not important at all because it does not pay dividends until the end of the episode. Which one do you think I'm going to bring up next?
You're going to finally talk about my guy, Devane. You have to be talking about the testing of the product here. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to talk about it because I want to
actually out of place. This is not where they test the product at.
I thought, okay, so first of all, because of the dream state, this is the first time we actually
that's what throws you off. Yeah,
right. But they come back to it, and I'm pretty sure. Right after Stella said that she want the real Paris, we go back to the testing of the product.
The next thing that happens, a couple of things happen before we get to the true testing of the product.
Okay.
One, I said it's not overly important. It's just the introduction of the painter who's playing the big dividends to the reason why this is called Angel of Death. That's what I say. It's not much to talk about. His stuff happens later on in this episode that's highly important. But right after that is where Bumpy meets Captain Fields. And he talks about his plan to protect his shipment coming in.
Now that you got this out of order. I'm absolutely right here.
I do not have this out of order, sir. At all. Not remotely close to being out of order. Are you thinking about their second talk with Captain Fields, sir? Or the first talk with Captain Fields?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. So if the scene's like 30 seconds, I just combine them. So fair enough. But
no, the reason why this is important, this scene right here between Bumpy and Captain Fields, because one is, again, Bumpy paying a leverage against Captain Fields, but it's more important because we already see here when Captain Fields with the stand-up saying, like, this will be the last time I do anything for you. Like, I'm never doing this again. Yeah. Like, this is the eternal struggle, because this also helps paint the other picture here that they're doing through this entire episode. And that's Captain Fields pointing out, you want me to help you protect this dope to come in to destroy our neighborhood. Why would I do that? And Bumpy using a leverage against him, but not understanding that leverage is also playing against the moral compass of Captain Fields. At this point of the episode with Captain Fields, what did you think about this interaction between him and Bumpy and how this plays? Because he was clear about it, and he's always been clear about it. He doesn't want the drugs in Harlem.
Yeah, this conversation I thought would happen a lot more than none. And yeah, somebody has to be the moral compass for society that's happening around here. And this is what we get. Captain Phillips, right? Yeah. Captain Phillips. Captain Fields. Sorry. Captain
Phillips was Tom Hanks.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Exactly.
I'm the captain now. No, Captain Fields, I think it's just saying the part of just being aware of what's happening in Harlem. Folks need to know. I know y'all having this battle between the Italians and who's getting control of and then they got 30 cops and whatnot. But like ultimately, this ain't good. Basically, Captain Fields like this ain't good for my spirit here. I can't be a part of these things. I need you to realize that like while I'm even taking money here, it still ain't right. However you want to look at it, just because I'm taking money don't mean I'm just compliant with everything that's happening here. I don't like it. Don't want drugs here. Everything that I work for, the degrees and the academy and all this other stuff, It almost feels like all for nothing if I'm not being able to go to contribute in a positive way back to the community, and just ain't it. That's it. And Bumpy don't care because he's just like, all I care about is my money and the power, and everything else is going to operate the way it is.
Again, I think that's why it makes this scene so important because it plays so much into the heart of this episode.
Yeah.
And what's the problem all the way around with Bumpy? Now, next up, before we get to your most exciting moment of the episode, this is where we get the conversation between Dale and Pettigrew about cocaine. About this more or less just lets people understand the time period that we're in. When Dale tells them, first and foremost, this is an expensive ass drug. Only white people do it. You're not going to see people down here doing cocaine. And even with Pettigrew wanting to take this idea back to Bumpy, and Dale saying it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even let you do it. This is nothing but foreshadowing. Because Pettigrew says in there, if something goes wrong with Deducci, we need a backup plan. This whole setup with Pettigrew, did you think that he would be so important to the ideas moving forward for Bumpy?
Hell no. I'm like, oh boy, here he go. Here he go. But I mean, like much like Dale said, listen, with the lack of due diligence, it's just gonna piss him off. So you need to come correct. So while that seemed like a deterrent, that was motivation for him to get it right. He know where it came from. He knows the value of it, and he got something to test. Yeah, he did the thing. He did the thing.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is later on this episode when he says he asked for a key, and he said we can't get that much in. He said how much for an ounce? $3,000 for an ounce. We on another show where they are paying $10,000 a key, and here he's selling an ounce for $3,000. That again, that should tell you one for this time period how rare it was to get cocaine in, because it was almost humanly impossible to do it at this point in time, and how expensive it was even when you got it in. And then your clientele base is completely different. But again, just pay attention to it because this is also the time period in the 60s where cocaine blew back up huge as a very expensive, high taste drug. And maybe we're going to see them tap into that market. But I'm just going to sit back, sir, because you have been waiting to talk about this scene.
Listen, I just want to say that Crackhead Sam from Raising Canaan, now the vein in Godfather of Harlem, for whatever reason, this dude Tyson Hall just
he plays crackhead as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty
all you got to say.
That's it. And I just wanted to say that, like, I mean, it complements what you're saying too. Is this understand that like he had a dream that this man took this, he took the drug and it was so pure that he died in the dream, and he damn near died in real life. So. and nothing stopped Bumpy now with a reminder both in his consciousness of sleep and in reality of going forward with this. So but it's just funny because like, well, we gotta test it, bring in the vein, and the vein comes in, and my man says, yeah, this right here, this the best ever. It's the best
been
shit
lining
ever.
up for this. They was trying to fight me to take my spot.
Completely hilarious.
Hey man, look, a human, it's nothing better than getting a human tester. You know, someone who could tell you if the product is what you need it to be. I mean, back in the day, people. Let's go on to the next. Well, I say something I ain't got no business saying. All right, so next up we get the Monsieur. Am I saying his name right? I think I am. Marseille. Yeah. Meeting with Joe Colombo. Here is where we understand the issues with Bumpy's plan. As when they meet, and Joe basically tells him, like, hey, we've been cutting deals forever.
You forgot about Elise and Omar.
I didn't want. We talked about that already.
Earlier,
Elise, and then we went to the second Elise.
Oh yeah,
so that's why I didn't bring up yet.
Her whole point of just now that she got this newfound wisdom, she got to test him. You have to be tested if you're going. And then she laughed. I thought that was a funny moment that he was able to make her laugh. He know he got her. The reason I bring this up because like That may be problematic. My man may have sworn on the Quran, but what if he's just not Muslim anymore?
I don't think that is it, though.
Oh, okay. Maybe
because when she said my daddy should have just killed you, he said, "Thank Allah, he didn't."
True. Yeah, said
Yeah,
we
that's
said my
not
brother
it.
would have got my place in Chicago.
Yeah, he's just in love. That's all it is. But we kind of brought him up before. That's why I ain't talking about it. Ain't much.
And he wants to join Malcolm's new mosque. So like, okay,
mosque. Yeah.
Okay,
just another woman wanting to test man to prove that he loves them. The story is old as time. I mean,
oh boy, yeah.
I mean, no one's tested anyway the way Murray tested Joseph with popping up pregnant. But again, as we talk about the meeting with Joe Colombo and him basically telling him like, "Hey, we've been doing a 50% cut this entire time. This is where the threat does come down about the 5 families will be mad." And he tells him, "All you have to do is beat Bumpy's offer." And Joe says, "Not a problem." Here, what did you think Joe meant by, "Oh, it's not a problem to beat Bumpy's offer"?
Exactly everything I said earlier when it's like, oh, this ain't nothing financially. That's not a problem. This is literally going to be a tactic, a show of muscle, a show of how he was introduced. He doesn't take direction well, nor does he take threat, nor does he take competition well. He eliminates the competition. And that may not actually mean the competition. That just means that somebody's getting eliminated because of the competition.
And speaking of someone getting eliminated, the next important scene as Bumpy and Dale are having a deep conversation about dreams and about Bumpy letting them know, like, "Hey, I dreamed about Elise. I dream about fiends from time to time." Again, playing into that mindset of the name of the episode here. The next up, we get Joe walking in, telling Bumpy, "The deal's done. We're going to get all of it. We're only going to pay for half of it." And Bumpy telling him, "I had a deal." And Joe saying, "Well, I went above his head." And then proceeding to show Bumpy his head in a bag. I kind of thought with the bag that Joe was coming with money and saying, "Here, I'm going to give you this, and we're going to make it even. Or I'll get rid of you." I didn't expect the head in the bag. We talk about the show of force that Joe does repeatedly to Bumpy. Do you think this was Bumpy's breaking point with his show of force, though?
Yeah, of course. I mean, now this like screws everything, and he goes home and drink. That's it. He's just like, oh shit. He literally kirked like twice, and was like, okay, yeah, he got me. So next episode, can't wait to see how Bumpy tries his same plan once again. We're gonna have to go directly to the French for the connection and let them know. But I to kind of go back, like Joe basically telling him, like, listen, like you can't trust Bumpy. You know what happened to your partner here. So,
but he was there when his partner shot, when Bumpy killed his partner.
Of course, but like, which is odd because it's just like, okay, so he say that and then cuts his head off. So one gets shot, one gets her head cut off. And so at this point now, lessons learned, nobody can trust anybody. There you go, folks.
Hey, I think that's the biggest part of this is that, one, Joe just doesn't care. And if he has to show force, he's going to show force.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, he killed him way before he had the deal in place. But he figured if I kill him, who else you going to go to? Like, at this point, you have no choice but to go to me.
Right, but I mean, like the focus shifts here because now Joe goes to Captain Fields, and basically while Captain Fields is able to handle the security at the port to make sure everything goes through well, but also too the Italians have the ships in order to bring all the keys in and so on. So like more efficient than what Bumpy could do. While we did see Bumpy and Joe and Jose and Marseille talking about how it's going. Yeah, for sure. But like, the Italians, like he said before he went to go visit him, like I still need to hear them out because I feel it's a sense of business, but I think he also knows that like it won't go wrong with them. This could go wrong, and every single time that he tried to rebuttal with like what could go wrong, certainly Bumpy had a solution, but it's just like, okay, I still need to hear him out just in case.
He also said his bosses said, "I have to go to the Italians."
Yeah.
So even his bosses, the people who, again, when Joe stated 5 families will be mad. The same people that he pointed out before, he's like, I still got to go to them because it's at this point, it's out of respect.
Yeah.
Like, we've done business for years. You're kind of new in this. And we can't just throw all our eggs behind you because if you're gone, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So we at least got to give them the opportunity to come in and see if they could come up with a better deal. And you could say they kind of did because he killed him and cut his head off. And that was the better deal. But next up, we get the final. It feels like the final blow up between Stella and Joe. As, again, Joe tells her, I talked to your dad. He said it's a no. And Stella knows Joe is lying to her here. But the most important thing we get here is that after the blow up, after him telling her you should be grateful, Stella's reaction to it. Do you think this could possibly lead Stella back to being an informant?
Yeah, because at this point now, if she doesn't get flown out, she's gonna do whatever she can. Honestly, the whole, I mean, Stella got 3 choices here. She's either gonna tell her dad, she's gonna go visit and tell her dad, she's gonna be an informant.
That's where we get Chin from again.
Yep. She's gonna go be an informant, or she's gonna start an OnlyFans. But either way, she's going to Paris, and nobody's gonna stop her. and the fact that, like, we see Joe just completely ground her, yells at her in a way, puts her in her place, and let her know this is what it's gonna be. Goes all for her. She's not gonna take the light to that. You know, that's not gonna work her well. But I think again, this is again just, you know, Joe just. He said, I'm your boss. First keyword here, boss. Yeah. And I give you, I think it's wise for you to accept the gift when somebody takes it or whatnot. I mean, these are threats. Everything about this is a very much, shall I say, dangerous territory for her. So this has to be it until we see her make a plan of action next episode. Because while things look like, it's like, oh, I tried it the nice way, that didn't work. Now I'm gonna have to obviously go it the other way, and that's what we're gonna see with Stella.
And the other way is what the FBI asked her, like, "Hey, do you know anything about the drugs coming in?" Technically, Stella knows everything about the drugs coming in. If she tells them she knows everything about the drugs coming in, and now that Joe is the sole person waiting for the drugs coming in, that blows up everything humanly possible. When all he had to do was buy her, which back then probably was a $200 plane ticket to go to Paris. Blowing up all their plans for that. I think that's the annoying part of the character of Stella, because at times it feels like she's so entitled to do things, but she's entitled to do things only because who her father is. Yet still, this is the man she's always wanted to separate herself from. It's just interesting to see where we're going to get there. Next up, we get the resignation of Captain Fields. As again, finally, that moral compass decided, you know what? I'm not dealing with either one of you anymore.
Right.
As he gives an amazing story about how hard he had to work to get into that position. That they treated us like we didn't belong in the academy. I had to prove them every day what I did, that I was worthy of this position. Then he gets in the position, and then everything is blown up.
He's sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's all you had to say here. and honestly, it's funny because, like, Bumpy doesn't care. Like, I'm trying to steal this shipment from Joe. So, like, what's good? Can I, like, pay you more than him and you work for me, or what's not? And, like, again, every single door that Bumpy knocks on is instantly not being answered or completely shut in his face.
Exactly.
And here's just another one. So at the same time, not only is Bumpy is Captain Fields resigning, Bumpy has resigned for the night too, because he has no more options. That's it. Time to hit that whiskey, sir. It's gonna be a long night.
That wasn't even whiskey. That was clear.
Scotch.
That gin.
Okay.
Bumpy was a gin night. Bumpy's like, man, fuck this. Fuck life at this point. There's nothing that I can do.
Forrest Whitaker plays a drunk person better than anybody I know. I'm like, you look at him, I'm like, yeah, I feel drunk looking at him right now. And granted, I ain't gonna even say no more because I know y'all gonna say something wild in the comments, but all I'm gonna say
it's the eye. You can say it. It's the eye. I got one. I got a Forest Whitaker eye. It's the eye, Joe. If you want to act drunk and you got that eye, man, that joke every time it'll make you look like you're the drunkest person in the room. But did you feel bad at all for Captain Fields here? Because one, I
Hell
did love
no.
his speech leading up to this, because again, this is a black man who, especially in this time period, I mean, we understood it by Mamie and how big she thought it was that he was in this position. For a black man in this time period to climb as high as he did, and immediately understand, if I don't let these people bribe me, they'll either kill me or run me out of here. And then the person who leads the community, who you're really there to protect, is the same one destroying the community.
Yeah.
And then that playing the odds against him.
I don't feel bad for him. He stood up for himself. He stood up for himself. I don't feel bad because he recognizes what's happening around him. Yeah, the whole everything in terms of what's happening in the community and whatnot, it's bad. And for him to recognize that is good, because that's part of moving towards the solution. But I don't feel bad for him because he has felt sort of casualty to it, but he's also making a stand for change. So good for him is where I look at with this. Granted, if he had been bought to the point so deep that he feared from even losing his job or leaving his job, which if he knew what Joe just did, he probably wouldn't resign either.
Stayed in a damn job.
Yeah. Then I'm like, oh boy, my damn, bro. Damn, bro.
So next up, none overly important. This is where Pettigrew buys the ounce of cocaine. Again, we talked about it. It's nothing big here. It's something big by the end of the episode. But next up, to me, the most pivotal moment of this episode. And this is where the painter reveals the painting to Bumpy and Mamie.
Wait, before we go further, what did you think the painting was going to be?
Oh, I thought it was going to be disrespectful.
I knew that from but what though? Exactly.
I thought it would be something depicting Bumpy as completely evil. Because I think I paid a lot of attention when he told Mamie from the beginning, like, it's amazing that I used to buy heroin from your husband. Now he's paying me to paint a picture. The look on his face was like, oh, I know who this person is. And I just didn't think the way he depicted the paint, I didn't see, but I thought it was going to be horrible.
I thought
Bumpy in the worst light humanly possible.
Yeah, I thought they wanted to do something with the angel of death here. I thought, like, from the picture he thought he saw in the paper, I thought they was going to use something like that again. That was the bad side. The good side, I thought he was going to draw something like we've seen with the graphic work for season 3 of Godfather of Harlem. I thought they were going to like use some of that to kind of just draw him in a way. Because it could go either way. But damn, you talking about people fear him. Some people look up to him. And he was kind of like, well, which one are you? He's like probably in the middle. But he disrespected my man. I'm sorry. That really? I mean, he absolutely disrespected. He disrespected the hell out of Bumpy. Mamie, on the other hand, was kind of like, all right, let me pay him real quick. let me assess. Let me assess this artist's work real quick before I make a judgment. She definitely was looking like she didn't know what side she wanted to be on.
Because Mamie saw the picture and agreed with the picture, which is, it just showed two sides of a man. The good side and the absolute evil side. And when she asked him, do you see my husband as evil? He said, not all the way. Which is true.
Yeah.
I think she loved the picture, actually. It's Bumpy's reaction to it that changed her mind about that picture. But again, we talk about it on this show. We talk about it on other shows in this genre, that technically, to be a person in Bumpy's position, that's exactly what you are.
Yeah.
You're definitely not an angel. You're not someone who needs to be liked by everybody.
Yeah.
It goes back to the conversation. That's why I said the stuff with him and Captain Fields are so pivotal. It goes to a conversation when Bumpy and Captain Fields was talking, and Bumpy attempts to rail off all the good things he does in the community.
Yeah.
And Captain Fields is just like, but you're destroying it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk about sending people off to school and paying for after school programs, but you're selling dope. And then you say the problem is the people who get hooked on the dope. It's not my problem that they're weak. Like, just that outlook on life, just that outlook on the situation kind of makes you a devil. because that's what the devil would say. It's not my fault you fell with temptation. That's on you. Like,
Yeah.
I think it played to both ways. That's why I love the painting, and Bumpy's reaction was typical Bumpy.
Not typical. He didn't kill the guy, but it was damn near close. He definitely went out in rage, but
He wanted to kill the guy, and he did it. I think he didn't kill the guy because I think he thought what ended up happening would happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, as much as he is responsible for the things that are happening in the community, he also know a lot of the should I say the law of the streets. It's much like Mammy said, like, listen, dealers going to be addicted to dealing, users are going to be addicted to using. So
exactly.
Let's just call this one a stalemate here.
Wow.
That's probably what Mammy was probably thinking when she's looking at the picture, like, yeah, this joint dope, but should I pay him? Because, like, granted, he probably just gonna take this money and go buy drugs.
Wow, I don't think she was thinking that. I was thinking she was thinking, should I pay him, or will my husband try to kill me also for me thinking that this is a
not
beautiful
even a
painting?
But how disrespectful she would have brought, like, yeah, I brought it home anyway. I thought maybe we can, like, salvage this or something, like, maybe we can put it in the quarter.
I was hoping she would bring it home, and when he was mad, that motherfucker would be hanging up somewhere.
I tell you what, though, that picture will be in his dreams come next episode.
Forever. Oh, yeah. Because that's who he is. And clearly, even by the end of the episode, I think he sees himself that way. Yeah. Like that conversation, once they get home, the conversation with him and Mamie, and just him being drunk out of control and him saying, do you want me out of the heroin business? Like, well, here's your wish.
Yeah.
I would have to go back to buying it like a nobody. And in the famous line, dope fiends are addicted to dope. People who sell to dope fiends are addicted to the money. Technically, we all fiends. It comes through it. Like, it's a line that was in one of my favorite Jay-Z songs. So I absolutely love that she pinpointed that out, because that's highly important to remember. Everybody's addicted to something. Just what are you addicted to tends to be the problem.
Yeah.
The dope or the money.
Yeah.
But next up, we get the confrontation between Pettigrew, who I thought was Jose Battle's man. Please tell me if I'm wrong about that. Because clearly the girl said a guy that with Jose Battle, and that's who got the dope. So this is one of Jose Battle's people.
Yeah, this is a little confusing. Yeah, this is a little confusing. All right, so one is named Ruben, and at the bar, that's what it was established that he was. But also, Pettigrew also mentioned that he works for Bumpy, and he was excited. He was like, "Oh, why didn't you say that?
Say that."
Not the reaction somebody from Joe. He said from Jose Battle.
Jose Battle, not Joe Colombo.
Oh, I didn't even process it that way. Oh,
that's what I processed. This is one of Jose Battle's men.
Okay, that makes sense that he would have this connection, because by way of the drugs and whatnot. Yeah. I don't think it plays dividends going forward.
Really?
But the death doesn't. Or fucking the girl. I don't think it does. She lied, he lied. She's the gangster. She was lying about having a husband. I don't think it plays dividends.
Yeah, I don't care about the girl.
I think once the cocaine comes back, it's going to be like what's this? And then it's going to be like where'd you get that from type of thing. If it's that scarce, how the hell did you get it?
How the hell did you end up with an ounce of coke?
Yeah. So, because why I praised Pettigrew this time, like, yeah, he did his due diligence. He is bringing trouble home. And he can't lie or hide it.
That's my thought process. Yep.
Yeah. And could you imagine that? Bumpy, rock bottom, without the connection, having to pay Joe, and then now possibly being on foes against Jose.
Exact. And that's what my thought process was. The moment he pulled the trigger for her, because that's the weirdest part of all. He pulled it for him not to kill his own wife. Yeah. Kill her. What does that have to do with me? I can care less Let her die.
He going back.
Like,
Listen, he going. Oh, right. Because
let her die. That's your wife.
Yeah. Nah, he gonna go back and hit that joint again. That's what it is. Yeah. See, he gonna need someplace to lay low in a little bit.
Oh yeah, because when Bumpy finds out you did all of this, if you think you just got a beat in the first time, it's gonna be much worse this time. As Bumpy said, you make one more mistake. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, next up, as we get to the end of the episode, this is Joe as he's splitting up the Doochie, and he's splitting up to sell it to all the black gangs in Harlem, and he happens to notice Bumpy is not buying anything from him. And as he said, if Bumpy doesn't sell, all his businesses fall apart. What is he doing? As his corner man asks, why are you so worried about this Bumpy Johnson? What do you think is going through Joe's head for a reason Bumpy is not buying this?
He has to be thinking.
Joe doesn't just think that it's something simple. Go ahead. Joe didn't think it just was something simple.
Yeah, he has to be thinking, what's going to be his next move? And that will probably lead him to want to have another conversation. Because he said it's quiet, it's strange. And this doesn't seem very accustomed to the Bumpy ways here. So, yeah, he's definitely, while everything is going good in his book, he's definitely like, wait, something's not right here. Too good to be
he's
true.
Still worried. Exactly. This is the difference between Bumpy and Joe. Bumpy would have taken this just as great news, great business. Like, we ain't got nothing to problem. Joe's like, no, it's another shoe about to fall. And I need to know what this shoe is before it actually falls. Because I need to find out why Bumpy isn't buying anything from me. But, sir, what are your final thoughts on Godfather of Harlem, episode 5, Angel of Death?
The 5th episode here of a 10-episode season, a lot going on. This episode is interesting because now we got a lot of holes here. What happens because Monsieur is dead? What happens to his superiors? How does that affect things? Yes, the shipment came in, but what's going to happen because Monsieur didn't come back? When they find out what happened, we have to now start to think, well, what will Bumpy's next moves be? He doesn't have Captain Fields. He doesn't have doesn't have the connection. He would have to buy the Joe. That obviously hurts his ego here. Does he make a play directly to the French to let them know what's happening here, to try to cut off Joe because of what Joe's done, letting him know that Joe killed your middleman, your guy, either way. And then obviously Stella and what's going to be her play because of Joe. So while everything's going good for Joe, we should start to see things start to turn for the worse for him at some point. You have to see this kind of crescendo down since we've seen Joe rise to power. Now we have to kind of see what it all does. And then obviously the other big thing is what's up with Jose. And he finds out that his guy died and, well, who did it? But wait, how'd you get this product here? Or is Pettigrew smart enough to connect the dots to say, like, oh, maybe I should not just tell them.
Put out there that I have an ounce of coke.
Yeah.
It's maybe I need to pull Bumpy to the side.
And does Bumpy get into the game now here? Because, well, while one product is gone, another one may be here. And then say, hey, the black people can't afford it, but maybe there's something we can do so that they can. And then the new
that doesn't happen for another 20 years. We're about 20 years.
Look at this innovator.
20 years down the road.
Look at this innovator. Yeah, you're right. So.
Because if they make Bumpy create that, I'm gonna have questions.
All right, fuck. Let's do it.
That should not exist at this point in time in the world. But you kind of wonder also if Bumpy got into the cocaine business, would that bump too many heads with Jose? Or how profitable is the cocaine business right now? Yeah. I understand if we're in the 60s, cocaine really blew up in the late 60s, early 70s because it became like Studio 54 or it became the hip party drug celebrities did. And they bought lots of it to do it. So again, we got to see what avenue Bumpy goes through next, or maybe maybe Bumpy just finds a way to rob Joe and take back the
okay.
Gucci.
Yeah, okay. but I will also say too, Captain Phil steps down, who steps up, and what side of the fence will this person be?
Oh, it's gonna be another white man because black people ain't riding no more. So there's literally no need for a black person to be there anymore.
Sure, but can they be bought?
I mean, they could be, but I don't think Bumpy has the money to buy anybody at this point in
Not
time.
at all. No, he's down bad. Down bad.
Yeah, like I'm just waiting for the black bankers to come back, and my man who
always comes it's with about that time.
Comment towards Bumpy for Bumpy not having money.
It is about that time. It is about that time.
So, folks, again, thanks for checking out our review of episode 5, Angel of Death of season 3 of Godfather of Harlem. You can catch us right after the episode airs on MGM Plus or Epix or Amazon or wherever you may have this
Epix is dead. MGM Plus, sir. Get it right. Yeah. Epix no longer exists. They have now been delivered to MGM Plus. So yes,
Epix was like my favorite cable network.
Clearly, let it go.
So I'm just
the box is
gone to MGM too. Plus.
The box is gone too. But yeah,
so disrespectful. Disrespectful. But again, let us know your thoughts of this episode. Let us know your thoughts on what's going to be next for Bumpy. Let us know, do you think Stella is going to end up turning on Joe? Let us know if you think Pettigrew in this move with cocaine, is this a smart move? Is this a bad move? Will this move make dividends, or could this start a battle between Jose Battle and Bumpy Johnson? What else do we have here?
That's it. Just subscribe to the channel if you haven't. You already listened this far, so hopefully you will or be a subscriber. But if not, subscribe to Stella's OnlyFans, because you can be a part of getting her to Paris, and that's what matters here.
Nah, Stella snitched like an Instagram model. Y'all be careful out there, Joe. She gonna be on IG Live telling all your business because you wouldn't take her to Paris. But again, as you said, like, subscribe, comment, check out everything we got coming from Big Gold Belt. We got multiple shows that all drop this week. I think you'll like them all. Thanks for tuning in again. Peace, people.
Peace, y'all.